Welcome back to Inside Spring Football. Today we're at Maryville High School to visit with the Rebels and their head football coach, Coach Derek Hunn. Coach, thank you for taking time to visit with us.
Absolutely. Glad you're here.
Coach, let's talk a little bit about last season, 2018.
Yep.
You guys had, by any stretch of the imagination, a great season.
Sure.
I mean, you ended up in the semifinals of the playoffs. I think you were 9-1, if my memory recalls, for during the season. Talk to us a little bit about last season, maybe some of the challenges you faced during the season.
Yeah, the biggest thing was we were replacing such a deep group from the 2018 class.
Right.
And obviously winning a state championship in 2017.
Right.
So the expectations were as high as they've ever been, and just like they should be.
Correct.
And so the upcoming senior class, that senior class, the 2019 class, was one of the smallest classes we've had in a while. And so it was kind of intriguing, that dynamic. And as a freshman group, they really struggled. I think they went like 4-4 maybe, and they didn't, well, for whatever reason, that we didn't get going like we normally do as a freshman group. And we've had a lot of good freshman teams.
Right.
And so we were concerned about that class. I will say though that they came as far as any class we've ever had, just because in the off season they were willing to work hard, and while they might have been a smaller class, and as each year went by, it might have trimmed a little bit.
Right.
Those guys worked hard, and I think throughout last year we probably had probably 9 or 10 starters from that class, and that just goes to show kind of the Maryville mindset or Maryville mentality, if you will. We have so many kids who aren't stars from the day they step onto the field, but they're willing to be selfless, work hard, and wait their turn or make their turn.
Right.
And so I was really, really proud of what that senior class accomplished, and to get to the semifinals
Sure.
Is a huge accomplishment. And it just wasn't our night that night. We got beat by a better team, and and there's nothing to be disappointed about.
How important is, one of the things I've always been impressed with Maryville High School and the way you guys run this program is that you find a place for everybody. In other words, you said small senior class in numbers, and even if you had a large senior class, you find a way for each one to contribute. And how important is that to the overall mentality of the program and the guys that are underneath there?
Yeah, I think it's huge, Ralph. I think it's huge, and I think it's something that we preach to our kids quite a bit. All hands on deck mentality. That's something we say all the time, and we kind of look at it as there's not just 22 starting positions. There's really 88. If you include all your special teams.
Right.
And so we're finding ways to get kids to own a role and to excel at their role. Bill Belichick always says, "Do your job." You heard him say it 100 times in interviews. Do your job, and so we want to give kids something to hang on to that's theirs. And we've had kids like in 2017. I think one of the best things that happened to us was we had a kid who played in the secondary but wasn't able to crack the starting lineup, and kind of became our kickoff man. I mean, I bet you he made 75% of the tackles on kickoff that season, and the kids started to take notice.
Right.
And lo and behold, he gets voted a team captain at the end of the year.
Awesome.
And so just stuff like that, and so we try to find ways to get our kids involved, and we definitely put a big emphasis on scout team because it's such a huge impact on Friday night.
Exactly.
And so anyway, it's a big deal to us, and I definitely think it makes a difference in our success.
I'm sure after every season, you guys as a coaching staff go back and recap that season, look at the films, kind of decide what you need to change or what you need to do. Looking at last season and after reviewing it, what were some of the things that you wish you'd have done better? I know you talked about a small senior class, but what are some of the things that you say, hey, we should have done better at doing at that, and maybe some of the things that you did do well at?
Yeah, honestly, it's hard to look back and say, because it's always hindsight.
Right.
It's 2010,
That's
it's 2020. So I mean, certainly when you watch a game film, man, you wish you'd have done this different or that different. But I do think that getting our seniors, like one thing that we're going to do this off season, and this is probably something that I say when I look back, I wish we'd have done this before.
Right.
Is install some leadership trainings throughout the summer, and because every kid, and really even adults, like we can all benefit from that.
Sure.
And so we're going to have some people come in and speak to our team throughout the entire summer. and give our kids a takeaway and have them follow through on something. And so I just think that when you're able to give kids that kind of instruction, not only is it going to help your football team, but it's going to help them for the rest of their life. Sure. And so as they go into college. And so looking back, because this was such a senior class or small senior class, you know, they didn't have to lead the year before because we had such a large senior class.
Right.
And so it was brand new to nearly all of them.
Right.
And so it took time, and they got there. They certainly did. But it took time throughout the season for those guys to really grab the bull by the horns, so to speak.
Right.
And lead with conviction and,
right.
and realize that, okay, this is my team, because you go as your seniors go. It doesn't matter. I mean, you can have some great underclassmen, but at the end of the day, you're going to go as your seniors go. And so, you know, we tell them all the time, I tell those seniors all the time, this is your guys' team. This is not Derek Hunt's team or this coaching staff's team. This is y'all's team, you know, and we want to see you guys be successful. And so I wish that we had probably, and we talk a lot about it, but talking about it is one thing and following through on it is another. And so that's something that I'm really looking forward to for this season.
You know, without sounding a bit socialist, because I'm all about winning myself, but as a coach, I know wins and losses are important, but what you just said, don't you get a tremendous amount of satisfaction when you see a group overachieve and get to a
Yes.
point, from a low point maybe to a high point, versus a group that's just bang, bang, click, click, athletic, out-athletic everybody? Isn't that great satisfaction?
It really is, you know, and we spend a lot of time on execution, because we've played in a lot of games where, you know, we're out-athleted or they're
right.
bigger and faster and stronger
right.
than us. And that, you know, it makes it tough. It
right.
certainly does. But there's no question that there's a lot of satisfaction to be had, especially when it's all said and done and we're sitting in that coach's office after a game knowing that we beat a really, really good football team, maybe even with less talent.
Right, right. Well, make sure you stay with us. When we come back, we're going to go on the field with Coach Hunt and the Rebels as they participate in spring football here in the spring of 2019. We'll be right back.
Here we go. Get a call, let's go. Yeah. Short crosser, you got it? You know where you're going? Yeah, you're underneath him. He's on top of you. Cameron's on top of you. Cameron, don't give it away. Look straight ahead. All you say is down. All right, and then he's going to snap it when he's ready. Practice snap. Here we go. Just hang tight. Put your arm up. So run a true slant. Stem it. Don't cheat it. Your first two steps. Hey, hold up. You're off the ball. You're off. You got to tie it in. Good. Here we go. Good. We're going on. We're moving on. Good. Good job. Spread. Good job, Deuce. All right. Spread. Let's go, tempo. Let's go. Find your dent and go. Come on. Ready, set.
Where's Fisher at?
Hey, make sure our aiming point's the crack. Not the play side, the crack. You got me?
Yeah.
You up?
Yeah.
All right. Catch it and put it down. Just, hey, don't think about it. Just do it. All right, do it again. We're not going to worry about laces today.
What do I put this offhand when I move it or what?
You catch it. No, you just catch it and put it down. Yes.
Okay.
Go ahead. Keep snapping. Stay down.
Down.
Good. Again, after your second step, that this was not going to be the one. So it's curl flat immediately. Instead, you're waiting. Go ahead and get off of it and go to the one we need to, okay? Flip trips.
Give him the mic. Boy, go to Sam.
Sean, get Brody.
21.
31. Tight right. It's bunch. Over. Tight right. Over. Tight right. It's bunch. It's a now call. There we go.
Get through there, Ashton.
33. You're good. You're good.
Good. Score on it. Good. Yeah, that was a tough one.
Just to kind of work on.
The timing of it, I like it. Hey, once you check with the kicker and he's good, you say down. They're all still. No, we're kicking it. Put your hand on the tee.
Down.
One more, coach. One more. One more. He's hugging one side, like Scotty would say.
Good, John.
Oh, wait, Jay. All right, get a break. Get a break. Let's go. Hustle off. Hustle off.
Welcome back to Inside Spring Football. We're at Maryville High School today with Coach Derek Hunt and the Rebels. And Coach, in this segment, I want to talk about the upcoming season.
Sure.
The past is the past. You know, as you said, hindsight's 2020. We go into 2019, and as you go through the spring, I know you've had to replace some people. You have to do that every year. What are some of the things that you want to work on this spring?
Yeah, so, you know, the biggest thing in the spring is you're trying to see, is there any young guys that are going to take the next step,
right?
You know, and be able to help you on a Friday night and maybe transition from a Monday night JV or freshman type to a Friday night type player, and so that's what's exciting, is that happens every year. I mean, you're going to have kids that, like we spoke about earlier, that they've had 2 off seasons now, or maybe even 3 off seasons now,
right? In
the weight room and through practice, and they've had 3 seasons and they're ready to play. It's their turn, and they're going to take advantage of it. You know, for some kids, they just have to realize that they're the guy. I'm the man, you know, and it's such a level of confidence thing with a lot of teenagers, and it was for me when I was a teenager, you know, until I was able to convince myself that I could, you know, be the guy or do it, you know, then I couldn't, you know, or could if once I was able to get there. So, you know, so that's what's most exciting about spring, is you get to see those kids who maybe haven't gotten to that step yet. They get there over the course of 10 practices. And then you also get to, I think, you know, it's so huge for your lines, for both, you know, offensive and defensive lines, because a lot of those guys, you know, most linemen don't play baseball.
Right.
You know, there always are some, but you know, you don't, so you're missing some baseball players and you're missing some track guys, but you have most of your lines. And so you really get to rep that stuff and kind of build depth and kind of see where it's going to go from there. So that's something that we're really focusing on, and I think that's what we do every spring.
You know, another thing that I've always been so impressed with Maryville about is other schools, as I've watched high school football over the years, it's like, we're going to do what we're going to do, all right? You guys adapt to what you've got, right? In other words, I mean, you're going to run a certain offense or a certain defense, no question. But if you don't have the kids that can execute that, you're going to adapt it. So is that something that you look at each spring?
Sure, there's no question, you know, and we definitely try some different stuff in the spring. But at the same time, you want to have an identity, so we're going to still do the stuff that we do. It's just like you said. I thought we were a lot different last year on offense because we had to be, you know, in my opinion.
Right.
And so we just tried to find ways to win games, you know, try to find ways to get first downs and string a good drive together. And so schematically, while we were still Maryville, at the core of it, we were definitely having to do some things that we probably hadn't had to do in the past, just because of personnel was different. Our strengths were different than maybe the strengths before, you know, and so anyway, there's no question. I think there's a big part, and that's something that I learned from Coach Quarles, and I think that he just did such an unbelievable job of was staying ahead of the curve and then matching to who your personnel was. You know, you know, play to your kids' strengths, and that's what's going to give you a chance to be successful as a team. Sure. And so, you know, that's certainly something that I try to do, and our staff tries to do each spring. Sure.
What are some of the, for those watching this at home who are familiar with Maryville or maybe not familiar, who are 2 or 3 of the key guys that you're going to be looking for this year to make that next step up offensively or defensively?
Yeah, so we returned quite a bit offensively. I think we returned 8 starters on offense. So, I mean, the names, that, you know, A.J. Davis and T. Hodge, and Brody Sloan, and Ashton Maples, and then we get both quarterbacks back in Cade Chambers and Braden Carnes. And so, those are guys who were on the field a lot last year, and you should expect to see great things from this year. Obviously, we certainly hope so. So I do think, we lost Bryson Teeteller to graduation, who was our other running back.
Right.
I think, Sean Ward and Parker McGill are two guys this spring they've had, great springs. And so, that we'll see how that works out, and it's like we say, football's a meritocracy. The best are going to play.
That's right.
And that's my favorite thing about football.
That's exactly right.
Is the best are going to play. And
like
so
that.
it's going to shake itself up. It's going to shake itself up, and the chips are going to fall where they may, and they're going to decide who gets to play. On defense, we lost, most of our defensive line and our entire secondary. So we get our linebackers back, but we lost quite a bit on the defensive side of the ball, and so that's where a lot of the competition is, and certainly there's no starters in spring ball, and that's not the way we look at it. But but I think that there's some competition, and that's where we were banged up quite a bit there last year. We lost some guys to knees who would have provided a lot of depth, and so they're still recovering from those surgeries. And so the jury's still out there, but we've got a lot of young kids that I'm excited about. And, and the bottom line is I have a lot of faith in our kids and our coaches.
Sure.
And so no matter who it is, Maryville's not going to be ever defined by one person.
Right.
So, if it works out with, if somebody were to go down, the next kid's going to be ready, and so I'm excited about the opportunity that we have to show that, we can still be a really good defense no matter the personnel. And
what you just said is a function of the fact that these guys are getting reps throughout the season. You're finding a place for them to play. So if somebody goes down and they have to go in the game, it's not like they've never been in the game before.
That's right. And that's a huge deal because, I feel like the way football has been going the last 3 or 4 years, there's less emphasis on the younger guys.
Right.
And probably more emphasis on the Friday night guys.
Right.
And, you almost want to flip that on its head.
Right.
And not that Friday night's not important. I mean, surely that's why we do it. But I mean, we have to pour in and invest into those young kids because, like you said, you never know.
Right.
You never know when we're going to be counting on them. And so, that's one thing that I think we try to do a good job of at Maryville is have a contingency plan for every position.
Right. Let's talk a little bit about your schedule finally. You guys play pretty much the same teams this year. The only difference is I guess you drop Catholic and Oakland.
That's right.
And you'll pick up Bearden and Farragut. Is that
right.
correct?
Yeah.
Okay. So talk to me a little bit about the schedule, some of the teams that you expect to be tough again, and then also maybe address a little bit how tough it is to schedule to get some of these non-region games.
Yeah, we want to play a tough non-region schedule every year. I think that, it makes high school, it's good for high school football.
Sure.
The atmospheres that we've had here at Maryville the last 2 years, the home Catholic game 2 years ago, which was my first game ever as a head coach, and that was nuts. And then the Oakland game, the home Oakland game last year was probably one of the greatest games that I've ever been a part of.
Right.
And so, and fortunately both of those were wins.
Right.
We've lost some great games too. The Alcoa home game, that we lost was an unbelievable game, and Maryville Alcoa always is going to be like that.
Right.
That's what you expect from Maryville Alcoa. So, but we want our non-region schedule to be tough because it prepares us and we're not going to hide from a loss.
Right.
Because there's a lot to be learned from a loss. So at the end of the day, we want to reach our full potential. And I think the only way you can do that is by playing really good teams.
I agree.
So, I don't think that Farragut and Bearden probably get enough credit for how good they are. Bearden, they were 3 points away from being the 1 seed in the region last year. And the way that region wound up, they were the 4. And so they came to Maryville round 1. And gosh, we were not excited about that.
Right.
Because they are a really good football team. Defensively, they're tough. And then offensively, they get first downs. They're like a first down machine. So anyway, I think that Coach Schindler has done an amazing job building that program. And then Coach Courtney at Farragut, everybody knows, he's been there for so long and he's got so much you get so much respect from the coaching community in this area.
Right.
He does a fantastic job, and both of those staffs do. So, I was really excited to get both those teams on schedule, just because you're going to have great atmospheres. They're early in the season, or at least the Bearden game is. And then, of course, Maryville Alcoa, we got that one going again, and,
Right.
and Maryville Fulton, which has kind of been, I think that might be 6 years now, 6 or
think
7
so,
years
yeah,
now.
yeah.
And so those have been great games. You know, some of them have been on TV. So to get to play championship caliber teams, you know, is a big deal to us, and especially teams that are close to us.
Right.
You know, we love going and playing Oakland. You know, I think that has its time and place.
Right.
You know, and Coach Creasy and I talked, if we could find games near us that we wanted, let's sign up for those.
Sure.
And if not, then we'll agree to play again. And so, and that was a really good thing. I think that 2-year deal was a really good thing for Maryville and Oakland both.
Right.
Not just financially,
Right.
but I think it prepared us, you know, football-wise. So, and then when you get into region, I mean, 6A football in East Tennessee has gotten really good in a hurry. I think the last 5 to 6 years, there's a lot of good teams in East Tennessee that have taken the next step, in my opinion.
Yeah, I agree.
And I think it shows with the region in Knoxville. I mean, you've got Hardin Valley, you've got, you know, you got Farragut and Bearden, who are all right. I mean, the fact that their top 4, with Science Hill, I think, included, was so bunched together,
Right.
you know, tells you a little bit about the football. And so, you know, Bradley Central, everybody in our region gives us something that we're like, you know, this is tough. It makes it tough. And
Right.
so I think Bradley Central's been the 2 seed in our region the last 2 years.
Right.
And they've got some really good football players, and their staff does a great job as well.
Yeah, no question. Well, Coach, we appreciate you taking time out of your schedule to join us, and we wish you the best of luck in 2019, and hopefully you can bring home another state championship.
Yeah, that'd be great. Thank you so much.
Thanks
Ralph.
a lot, Coach.
Appreciate it.
Coach Derek Hunt, head football coach of the Maryville Rebels, inside spring football. We'll be right back. Okay, welcome back to Inside Spring Football on Main Street TV. I'm your host, Ralph Miranda. We're here at Maryville High School to visit with the Rebels. I'm joined now by up-and-coming senior Mason Shelton. And Mason, it's nice to meet you today.
Nice to meet you. Nice to be here.
Mason, you're an upcoming senior, so you've been here this will be your 4th year. You've seen other senior classes go through. You know a little bit about what Maryville football is all about, obviously. So talk to me a little bit about what you feel like your responsibility this year as a senior is.
I feel like as a whole senior class and me, we need to step up and be leaders, because on both sides of the ball we have some young kids stepping up, and we just got to show them like how Maryville does it.
What did you learn? I mean, obviously you played as a freshman, sophomore, junior, and you've seen other senior classes. So what are some of the things you took away from that you want to make sure that you do well this year?
That when you're older, you're kind of put on a pedestal for the younger kids. They look up to you, so you got to lead a good example and show them the right way to do things.
Okay. Now, you've been playing outside linebacker. So talk to me a little bit about playing outside linebacker, and what are some of the things you have to do well to play that position?
At outside linebacker, you got to be able to make tackles in space, and you also got to be able to play in the box between the tackles and be able to make plays on pass and run.
And how about in the weight room? What are some of the things that to play that position that you try to focus on? What parts of your body do you try to keep stronger to be a good linebacker?
I mean, really the full body. You want some strong arms to get separation. You want to work on your legs to get fast, and work on cleans for explosion.
Okay. And now this coming season, you guys pretty much play the same teams you did last year, with the exception of Oakland and Catholic, and you pick up Bearden and Farragut, which you're familiar with. So a lot of the teams you've played, you're familiar with. So what are some of the maybe 1 or 2 teams that you know are going to be tough for you guys coming up this year?
Bearden, we got a big target on our back with them because we beat them the first round of the playoffs.
Right.
And Farragut, we also beat them in the playoffs, so they both want to beat us because we took their season away.
I understand. Well, Mason, I wish you nothing but the best. Good luck to you in your senior year, and hopefully everything goes the way you want it to.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Mason Shelton, senior outside linebacker for the Maryville Rebels, right here on Inside Spring Football on Main Street TV.